Are we on?
Yes.
In 1968, Francis Chichester sailed his boat Gypsy Moth around the world single-handed, making only one stop in Perth. It was felt that everything had now been done except for one thing, that is, sailing single-handed round the world without any stop. And the next year, 1969, an event was held, a race of types, for single-handed sailors to sail around the world non-stop. Now, it was an unusual race. They didn't start at the same time. They only had to start by the 31st of October 1969. That was a cut-off date because it was felt that after that it would be possible to get round Cape Horn. So you could leave at any time as long as you left by that date. The great and the good entered for this race. Robin Knox-Johnston, Ridgway, Che Blythe, all the great sailors and adventurers, and they set off at different times. And a surprise entrance was Donald Crowhurst. Donald Crowhurst was a rather pleasant but ineffectual man who had a business selling navigational aids in Teignmouth in Devon, and his finances were in a bad way, but although he had very little sailing experience, he was determined to do this race. But he had no money, so he had to find backers. He found backers, but the term of the agreement with them, which was to prove fatal, was that if he failed to complete the journey round the world, he would be obliged to buy the boat from the backers. He was far too late in his preparation, so that when he left late in the afternoon on the 31st of October, it was perfectly plain that he was not properly prepared for the journey. Shortly after he set out, screws began popping out of the boat, and the buoyancy tanks began leaking, and it soon became apparent to him that the boat was inadequate for voyaging in the roaring 40s and for going around Cape Horn and the like. But he had a terrible dilemma, because if he didn't do it, he was going to go bankrupt. So it seems that he decided to fake it. Instead of sailing around the world, he sailed round and round in circles off South America. He sent radio messages back home indicating positions. Some of these messages indicated that he'd broken the world record for a day's sailing, 243 miles. Some of them indicated that he was making really great progress. But of course, he knew that if he were to, quote, win, unquote, the race, then the judges would look carefully over his log and they would pick up discrepancies, and it would soon become obvious that he had faked it. So it seems that he decided to wait long enough in the Atlantic to ensure that he couldn't win the event. a buoyancy tank split, and he very quietly landed in Argentina. It was against the race rules to land, but he landed and he had the buoyancy tanks fixed up while he waited for the other participants to go by. Eventually, after three participants had passed him, he fell in behind them on the trip back through the Atlantic to Britain. There was Robin Knox-Johnston, there was Tetley, and there was a Frenchman called Messiter. And he figured there was no chance of him winning. But Mr. went a little crazy and decided that sailing around the world lone-handed was not enough. He never wanted to go back to civilization, and instead of going up to Europe, he turned back towards the Cape of Good Hope to go around again. Then, suddenly, to everybody's surprise, Tetley's boat sank. That meant that on his faked journey, Crowhurst was now in line to win the prize, and he knew that if he won the prize, that would be his undoing. Subsequently, his boat was found drifting in the Sargasso Sea, and he was nowhere to be found. It was clear from his logbook that he had committed suicide. So this deal that he made with his backers, that he knew would bankrupt him, proved to be his undoing, and it destroyed him. It's a very sad story indeed. Thank you.